And it's great to be joined once again this year by Jonathan Hobbs, who's here to tell us all about the Greyhound Derby, which is back for 2026 at Towcester Racecourse. And right in the middle of our patch, it's great to be the local radio station for the UK's hub of greyhound racing. And nobody knows greyhounds like Jonathan. Thank you very much for joining me. We're looking forward to the Greyhound Derby. It's a whole series of rounds that culminate in the final, taking place over the next month or so. In a nutshell, what's in store for fans?
Well, thanks, Chris. Yeah, look, this is it's the biggest competition in greyhound racing. I call it the world's greatest greyhound race. 166 greyhounds this year set out on the road to what they hope will be greyhound immortality and joining the likes of Mick the Miller and Westmead Hawke and all the other great champions of the past. And there's no better place than Towcester, you know as well as I do. It's the most picturesque of tracks. There's a new management team in there. They're doing a great job. We kicked off on Friday and Saturday with 14 heats as part of the first round. And this weekend, Friday and Saturday night, the second round will take centre stage. And once again, the crowds will flock. And they're just building up round by round to what will be one of the great sporting occasions on Saturday, the 6th of June, when the Star Sports and Orchestrate Limited English Greyhound Derby final will take place. I think the off time is 9:18. Don't hold me to that, but I think it is in the evening, of course. And that's the same day as the Epsom Derby. So it's very much double Derby day. And hopefully for that reason, we'll get a few more column inches in 2026 than perhaps we have done in the past.
Amazing. So the first few rounds are where you can really spot the stars of the future, aren't they? Because there's going to be a lot of different dogs taking part. They get whittled down through to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals and eventually the final. But it might be that there could be an outsider that suddenly blows everyone away that nobody's even considered before. So this is the time to really be in there right at the beginning, isn't it?
It certainly is. Generally it's first three qualifying. It's similar, I suppose, to sort of the FA Cup. We start off with, as I say, 166, 96. It will be with a couple of non-runners, 94 going into the second round. Then we're up to the last 48 stage, then 24, then 12. You get the gist down to the final six. You're absolutely right. But yes, we've got a mix of young greyhounds, but there's also those that are coming back for more that would have contested other greyhound derbies, whether that be the English Greyhound Derby or the Irish Greyhound Derby. In fact, going into the competition, we had the last two winners of the Irish Greyhound Derby in Bocco's Diamond and Cheap Sandwiches. Now, both, sadly, have not made the second round. Cheap Sandwiches has been withdrawn. Bocco's Diamond was knocked out. But nevertheless, there are second and third season greyhounds that are very familiar to the greyhound fraternity. You know, the likes of Proper Heiress, who is the reigning UK Greyhound of the Year. And he's a September 22. So he's 3.5, you would suggest. Greyhounds probably reached their peak, but maybe sort of 3 years of age. So he's just slightly past that, but he's keeping his form really well. And then you mix the Proper Heiresses with the likes of Underground Gold, who's a puppy. He only turns 2 years of age in August, but he's really, matured, and he's a fantastic stamp of a greyhound. He's got every chance of success. And you would imagine at his age, Chris, that he'll continue to improve. And of course, traditionally, very much an Irish challenge, a very strong Irish trained challenge. They've pretty much dominated the English Derby in recent years. Having said that, we did wrest the trophy back from them last year when Droopy's Plunge beat 5 Irish-based greyhounds, which was a fantastic coup for his trainer Patrick Janssens and the home guard. So as much as they've got a very, very strong hand, the likes of the wonderfully named Ballymac De Niro, who's ever going to, forget that greyhound's name? And he was brilliant. He was probably the best to the eye in the entire first round. He came from last to first, and even, even us hardened greyhound fans love to see that. But I can tell you, those that are relatively new to the sport, who only maybe dip into it once or twice a year, they love a greyhound that does that, goes from last to first, like a Westmead Hawke, and back in the day, a marathon greyhound by the name of Skirlow Champ. So the scene is pretty much been set already with the first round. The second round this weekend, Towcester's had what I describe as a facelift. I think you could suggest it's certainly been updated. the people that have been there have come away saying, it looks absolutely fantastic. It's such a, as I mentioned, a picturesque
Mm.
racetrack as well. And who's to say, whisper it down the line, you might just see the return of horse racing as well as the greyhounds there. It might be a couple of years, but that's certainly the plan of the new management.
It's exciting 'cause it's certainly building up to something there with the new team, and greyhounds are always going to be the heart and the soul of what Toaster's all about. And there's no better time to kind of dip your toe in the water if you've not been to see greyhound racing before. What's it like? What's the atmosphere like?
Well, it's a great atmosphere, especially if the weather is kind to us. You've got obviously it's principally was a horse racing track, so the viewing is a big grandstand, but there's executive boxes and there's plenty of space at Toaster. You can get a decent enough view. I remember when the greyhounds first arrived at Toaster, people were a little bit skeptical. They're so used to being close up with the greyhounds. Were they going to be too far? But the lighting is absolutely tremendous, and the way the grandstand sits, you get a decent enough view. And I think come final night there will be a big screen rolled in as well. So if the crowds do get a little bit heavier, certainly on finals night, and we know that Toaster can cope with any amount of
Mm.
people coming through the door. Then look, I just think what do you expect from greyhound racing? You expect the action to be fast and furious. There's a race every 15 minutes. You might be slightly detached from the action compared to, say, other tracks like Romford or Hove or Monmore or Newcastle, where you can get close up and personal. But the viewing's great. You don't need binoculars there. So, hey, look, I'm a fan of horse racing as much as greyhound racing, but it's a good night out, and everybody you ever meet has a great time, whether they're going for a night at the dogs or a day at the races.
Mm. And you can get dressed up. There's hospitality. There's usually some entertainment, particularly as we get towards the final. So you can really make a night of it, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Toaster races, I think 4 or 5 times a week, but those weekend meetings, certainly the Saturday nights across the Derby, yeah, absolutely, dress up to the nines. But equally, you can prop the bar up in your civvies. It really doesn't matter. But there's something for everyone in terms of tickets and how you want to enjoy your evening, whether you want to just pound the door and go and as mentioned, go into the bar area with the fast food going on around you, and then just walk out and watch the action unfold. Or there's a restaurant there on the first floor, and you've also got the executive boxes on the top floor as well. So either way, it's a great atmosphere. Hopefully the weather will be kind, moving forward across the next 4 or 5 weeks. But Toaster, very much the place to be. I would say that, being a massive greyhound racing fan, but in Northamptonshire. And catch toaster-racecourse.co.uk for all your details and your ticket information. Is that a good enough plug?
I think that will do very nicely, and obviously you find out all the details there of the different dates, the different rounds, and as we say, the finals on the 6th of June. So you've got a couple of weeks to maybe catch a couple of the early rounds and then get your tickets for the final. But I think the final bit will be quite in demand, won't it? So you probably need to get your tickets early for that particular
Look, it's
date.
always nice to get your tickets in advance, and I think that certainly the track would advise that moving forward across the next few rounds of the Derby, and come and enjoy the racing. And look, get involved if you so wish. We're, as mentioned, it's I think it was 14 races on Friday and Saturday last. I think we're probably back to now a 12 race card, certainly through the rounds of the Derby, and then come final night, I think that would be 15 races. So that would go on into the evening, and we should have some great fun there. And follow your greyhounds, maybe even from now. I mean, at the top of the betting list is I think the aforementioned Ballymac De Niro. Proper Air is there as well. Underground Gold is a certainly an improving greyhound. I like Scooby the Lady. There's yeah, absolutely. She's a really nice sort. They say that bitches don't win derbies. There's been a handful in about 100 years, I think, probably 4 or 5 at a guess. I'd have to check the records once again, but they say bitches don't win derbies. But she's tough as teak, as is Strike It Sky. She's another sort of type that I think she'll keep on qualifying. So there's a couple to keep on in mind. Droopy's Aladdin for a guy called Mike Burton. Mike's in his early 80s now, but if you love your rugby of a certain vintage, then you go back to, I think, the 70s, and he was an England international, a British Lion as well. So he's certainly used to high level sport, and he's absolutely a top notch trainer as well. He won the laurels with the ground by the name of Droopy's Aladdin, who is in the Greyhound Derby. So that's another fantastic story. He goes well. Romeo Empire is a 3-figure price. He might be the type to keep on qualifying. So look, pick out a runner in the list of the 94 as we speak now, and follow it through.
Well, you got lots of options there, and some of those sound really interesting. Some of those dogs coming through. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Jonathan. And as you say, if you want to find out more details about the Greyhound Derby at Towcester Racecourse, just head to their website, toaster-racecourse.co.uk. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for your support.